In our first story, pressure mounting on government to immediately release funds for beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty LEAP. Now, LEAP is one of Ghana's flagship social protection program that provides bi-monthly cash payments to extremely poor households in all districts of the country. Currently, 343,000 households benefit from the cash grants per the 2022 budget statement. But an impact analysis by civil society organizations consisting of Social Accountability Forum, Civil Society Platform for Social Protection, and the Civil Society on SDG 10 has revealed there have been unexplained delays in release of funds to beneficiaries by the government. Mohammed Abdullahi is the communications officer for Sent Ghana.
Somewhere 2019 up till now, we have noticed that the payments have been delaying. There are times that it delays for like more than 2 months, and already they are supposed to be receiving this support every 2 months, that is bi-monthly. And so it means that when a particular payment cycle delays, it means that the beneficiaries end up getting their support in like 4 months. And what is the amount involved? We are talking about just a 64 Ghana cedi for a beneficiary, a household that has just one beneficiary, a household. So we are saying that you and I will agree that in the face of this economic hardship, somebody who relies on only 64 Ghana cedis every 2 months has not received such amount for like 4 months. You can reason with us. How is the person faring? What are they feeding on? How are they able to meet their education and the health needs of the occupants of their household? So those are the kind of things that we think that these are people, they don't have the voice. If they had the voice, I'm sure you and I wouldn't have been here, because they would remind government to fulfill its obligation towards them. Today, you are aware that university teachers are on strike. Transport unions, student bodies, all going on strike because they have the voice to speak. Vulnerable groups that I talked about, none of them has a voice. So it is you and I who can actually remind the government of its obligation towards these poor people, so that at least pay them. If there are practical challenges why you are not releasing funding for their payment, it is okay to communicate to the people. Just let them understand this is the current situation. We all know we are not in normal times, but we need to strive to still do things in a normal way. So for the last payment cycle, which is the 75th, it was supposed to have been done in November last year. That had not been transferred. Now we are talking about the 76th cycle that was also due in January. It has not been paid. The 77th cycle will also come, will be due somewhere in April or March, April. Yet government has not paid those 2 areas for the beneficiaries. Like I'm asking, how are we expecting them to fare in the face of this COVID? So 2 payments tranches, two cycles, which is the 75th and 76th. Are you talking about the amount involved? No, we are not in the position to, like my colleague said, it is the government that transfers the amount, but we can do the individual kind of beneficiary package. For example, if it is just one person, the person receives like 64 cedis every 2 months. If it is 2, I think it's 77 Ghana cedis. 3 is 88, and then 3 or more, like 4 or more, is 106 Ghana cedis. That is for every 2 months. Of course, we have over 34,000. I think, no, I'm coming. We have about 344,000 households. So when we're talking about household, you can have a household that has more than one beneficiary. So the 334,000 households actually translate into about over 1.5 million individual beneficiaries.
That's Mohammed Abdullah, who's the communications officer for Sent Ghana. But joining us for this conversation via Zoom is Abaron Jalil Odum, and he is the director for Civil Society Platform for Social Protection. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, good morning very much, and thank you to your listeners.
All right, now from your checks, what's causing the delay?
Obviously, government does not, have the funds to release. And I guess the challenge right now is not because government only do not have the funds, but also because there's not so much communication around the subject matter.
And now, obviously, people are being affected by this. So what has been the impact of the delay on households that rely on LEAP?
Absolutely. There is a lot of pressure, on many households who pretty much depends on this funds to live, to have a life. When you look at, a household that does not, feed 3 square meals a day, or cannot even have one meal a day, and they are depending on, this particular, income to, be able to eat, then that's quite challenging. It's very frustrating and very, worrying situation.
It's a worrying situation indeed. But like, what's the communication? Like, what's happening? Is there any information that's coming to you? How long will this take? When will these people get the money?
So I think that the challenge right now is that we do not know when this funds is going to be released.
Yeah.
And our check, so far does not indicate when we will, the beneficiaries are going to have these funds. And so the difficulty is we don't know when to expect. And if you look at all the conversations going around the country, it looks like government does not have funds to do some particular things, and social intervention becomes, one of the last things, which is very worrying because in terms of, protection and promotion of human rights, one of the very important things is to protect, the rights of these poor citizens, and I think it's a very difficult situation.
Now, how do you feel about the fact that government is not like prioritizing the less fortunate and the vulnerable? And we all know that the economy is in a very bad shape, but how do you feel about this matter?
It's a big dilemma, I would say, because government does not have the funds to do this, and yet government needs to, promote and protect the rights, of its citizens, and so I think it's we need to find the fine balance that is trying to make sure, at least, even if government should default, it should not default for too long, because that will be quite difficult for these citizens, And let me say that um, we have always thought that this social intervention should always be predictable for, the beneficiaries,
Yeah.
and every now and then it is delaying, and so I think we really need to do something about it, because uh, even if you look at social intervention, which is a very critical thing for government,
Yeah.
and government is not looking at it, then what about all the other things that government should actually, dedicate, resources to? So we have a very worrying situation in the country.
And you keep on saying it's a worrying situation. You keep on saying that government doesn't have the funds. Is it that government doesn't actually have the funds, or it's a matter of priorities?
There is also the issue of priority, and so government, needs to pay, its workers. Government needs to support, people who are poor. Government needs to build roads. Government needs to, support, other, infrastructure projects. Obviously, priority-wise, government may not see this, as a big deal. But and if you look at the conversation that goes on and on, it feels like it's more of a charity type of, intervention that government is doing, rather than looking at it as a human rights thing. So priority wise, government is looking this thing as charity, and so they will not prioritize it.
All right, now moving forward, what are your plans to push this thing forward? Like, what are we doing in the future?
The future is that first we want to make sure that the social protection itself is enshrined in law. So it's more of a rights-based approach we are looking at. I think it's more compelling for government to support, LEAP when it is much more enshrined in law. And so we are looking at this opportunity that government will adopt, the current bill that, is still on the table and has not moved to parliament yet.
Yeah.
And we also are looking at a situation where, government will come through and make sure that they do something about the delays.
Yeah.
We are still pushing very hard. There's a lot of advocacy from different quarters. We also believe that if communication is going out there, this is our situation. We are not in normal times, and people understand that this is the situation, even though it's still not acceptable. I think if government is to do some, some few adjustments to make sure that at least even one of the payments, is made, then we will make progress. Otherwise, I think this will be a very long battle.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. That is Abaron Jalil Adum, who's the director of Civil Society Platform for Social Protection. And he's just been giving us some info on, because we know that pressure is mounting government to immediately release funds for beneficiaries of